When I told my wife that I was buying Paris Hilton's car, she got really excited. As much time as I honestly do spend on Auto Tempest each day looking for new cars for sale, over the last few months I've been really happy with the cars that I have. I've been driving them, enjoying them, and I did buy another car for Car Trek 4, which will come out in May, and if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have already seen some previews of that series. We had an absolute blast. But a few weeks ago, just out of the blue, I got a message from Tyler Hoover, and it was a listing for a 2006 Mercedes-McLaren SLR that was coming up for sale. And it was in a unique spec, but more significantly than that, based on its previous owner, it was a car that could very justifiably be called the most famous McLaren ever built. And I expected him to be telling me that he was going to go buy this car because both of us have talked about how much we do love the SLR. And in fact, though, he said, no, I can't. I just bought these two Lamborghinis, the Diablo Roadster and the Countach that we've seen on his channel. He said, yeah, I can't buy it right now, but I was thinking about making a video just about how cool the car's history is. And I was like, well, man, I don't think we should let this one get away. I think I'll try to buy it if you're not going to. So it became the perfect opportunity to work on a new sponsor relationship because I wasn't exactly in a position to comfortably buy the car either. And I met Rich Light from Glossit last year on Gold Rush, where I actually spent about 1,000 miles driving another participant's SLR McLaren. And I loved the car. I had an absolute blast. I kind of got to learn what it was like on the real twisty roads and obviously bombing through big highway routes as well. And so Rich had given everybody on the rally some of his gloss enhancer detail spray. And each night we would use that to kind of clean the cars up and wipe the dust that had accumulated from the prior day's driving. And I really came to like it. For somebody who's lazy like me and can get a car clean, once in a while or have somebody help with that, but really just needs a way to keep it looking as good as it possibly can after some long driving. The stuff's really good. It's just a great quick detail spray, easy to get on, easy to get off. And so I really came to like it. And Rich and I had been talking for the last few months about different ways that Glossit and VinWiki might be able to collaborate. And so he hadn't been quick enough to sign up for one of our monthly placements for 2021 on VinWiki, which are already sold out. But when this came up, I called him, I said, hey, I think I have the perfect thing for us to work on. And he said, man, that sounds great. I can make a series detailing the car. And I was kind of surprised at that. He said, no, let me intercept the truck that'll be bringing it to you from Los Angeles. I'll do everything we can to make the car look perfect. And this worked perfectly because I was going to be out filming Car Trek as the car was being shipped. I'll spend a few days with the car and then we'll send it on to you. I said, well, that sounds great. And he ended up doing a 100-hour detail, and he's going to have a series on his YouTube channel kind of documenting everything that they did with the car. But obviously now it is at a point perfectly corrected, perfectly prepared, that I truly can just use this to keep it looking great. And in honor of that relationship and to celebrate it, he has agreed to give any of our viewers a free bottle of their Gloss Enhancer Detail Spray. You just visit them at the link in the description below, sign up, and they'll send you one. All you have to do is pay the shipping and handling. And so it's a great product. There's a lot of good quick detail sprays on the market, but Glossit sells everything that you could possibly need to detail a car. But to be honest, this is exactly the kind of thing that somebody like me needs. So please visit them at the link in the description below, get your free bottle, and thank them for their support of VinWiki. But the car is a 2006 SLR McLaren. It's gray with a tan interior, and I absolutely love it. Of course, the SLR has kind of a strange reputation, and it's gotten criticized by a lot of people for three major things. The handling is strange, the braking is strange, and the transmission is clunky. And all of those criticisms are kind of right, particularly relative to a lot of the cars that it lined up against. Now, when the car came out, the SLR and really all the other supercars of the day weren't called hypercars. That wasn't a word that came up until really late in the 2000s, 2010, and really became more mainstream in 2013 and 14 to describe the 918, the P1, and the LaFerrari. But certainly now we use the word hypercar a lot to talk about Paganis and Koenigseggs and really any ultra-low production, ultra-high performance car. But I think like most enthusiasts, when I heard Richard Hammond refer to the SLR as hypercar royalty when it was drag racing in Abu Dhabi, the LP670 Mercy SV, I kind of looked, I was like, the what? Hypercar royalty? So I don't really think of it as a hypercar. It was most certainly the greatest car that Mercedes and McLaren could come together to build in the mid-2000s. And obviously I'm a huge fan of cars in the mid-2000s. I always say that I like to look like I won the lottery 10 or 15 years ago, and that's why I own and love the cars that I do. And so this fits in really well because it's one of the cars that would have been shopped heavily against an LP640 when it was new. I love the LP640, but this kind of solves that big, crazy, grand touring, highway bombing car in a different way. You know, those criticisms were somewhat valid. It handles like a Batmobile. The hood is eternally long, the steering feel is a little bit strange, and it feels very much like a German Mercedes-AMG product where they didn't care as much about it feeling as refined. The noises that it makes, everything about the car is just dialed up to 11. The braking is also super duper strange. They're very early generation ceramic brakes, and honestly, they rely on the rear spoiler acting as an air brake to have the car stop the way that you feel like it probably ought to. And also the transmission is weird. It's weird to have a clunky 5-speed automatic transmission with a torque converter in a car that looks, feels, and sounds like an SLR does. However, when we look at owning the cars now and not having an early single clutch sequential manual transmission, which is what it would have had because they were never going to put a stick in this car, I have to say I love it. It's the same transmission that's in the CL55 that we set the Cannonball record in. It's the same transmission that's in the $2,000 S55 that I'm going to shoot off a cliff in Alaska. It's one of those things that it's just such a bulletproof part of the car that when you're trying to own an aging supercar or hypercar, if you want to call it that, that's one of the things that should scare you. It's all these transmissions that were built at the bleeding edge of technology at the time. They're huge ownership liabilities now. And knowing that I can trust the transmission in this car makes me feel a whole lot better about the cost of ownership. Of course, the SLR also has the reputation of having catastrophically high servicing costs, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in future videos, but you know, there's a lot of people that can work on them now, and there's a lot of great dealership infrastructure to try to make it easier to put more miles on the car. Now, this car actually has some miles on it. I think it's the highest mileage SLR that I've ever put hands on. I mean, there are some that have had 30 or 40, 50,000 miles, but this one has 21,000 miles, so it has absolutely been driven, and I'll say it has the best feeling brakes that I've ever been in one. The one that I drove on Gold Rush handled strangely and braked in a really, really strange way, even more so than usual. So this one drives a lot more like my CL55 or an SL55 of the day would brake. And so it hasn't upset me, and I haven't gotten that normal SLR feeling that I'm about to roll into whatever is in front of me, because that's something that you always feel like is going to happen. Again, I love the SLR. I'd always been interested in owning an SLR. I talked a lot about why I like the SLR in the video from Gold Rush last year, and I actually tried to buy one that was in a flood that I got outbid by a guy that sent it to Saudi Arabia. And so I've always thought the car was really, really cool, both in what it stands for McLaren and for Mercedes, and in how you can drive and use the car. It is a daily drivable supercar. And so again, the reason that this one is famous though is not based on anything that applies to all SLRs. It's famous because this one belonged to Paris Hilton. And even more than that, it is the most famous McLaren on earth, I think very justifiably, because of one night that it had. Now, Paris Hilton in the mid-2000s was the hottest thing on earth. She was associated with every pop icon there ever could have been, and she was famous for being on The Simple Life and obviously being an heiress to the Hilton Hotel's fortune, and certainly she was out spending money lavishly, and she was as famous as anybody could have been at that time, particularly for another video that happened one night in her life that she may or may not have wanted to be on the internet, but certainly helped her rise to stardom. And interestingly, when I told my wife that I was buying Paris Hilton's car, she got really excited, like in a very unexpected way. And I was like, "Are you a big Paris Hilton fan?" And then it occurred to me, no, but like Kimmy, my wife was apparently enamored and enthralled with the pink West Coast customized Bentley Continental GT that Paris was very famous for owning. She's like, "You bought the pink Bentley?" I said, no, I did not. I bought her SLR, which interestingly, she was still a little bit excited about because my wife knew that it had a real automatic transmission. And while I've tried to get her comfortable with driving a stick, that's never really worked. And so she was like, "I might want to drive that car." I said, "Well, you are certainly welcome to." Of course, like we said, the handling is weird, the overhang is impossible to know where the nose is at, and so we'll help her be careful with that, but I'm very excited at the prospect that she might want to put some miles on the car. And so again, Paris was, at this time, associated with everybody who was anybody in Southern California. And one night she went out to some clubs, and I think the Beverly Hills Hotel, with Britney Spears. And Britney Spears certainly was kind of at those last couple of years before her very public meltdown. And this car, in fact, was in the recent New York Times documentary about her life. This car, on that night, was certainly going to have an interesting time. And so Paris and Britney have been going out, and at one point, either in getting into or out of the car, Britney Spears manages to flash the entire world by way of 100 paparazzi cameras. And as famous as Gordon Murray or Lewis Hamilton or El Chapo's drug runners might be able to make a McLaren, that all applies to the very narrow niche of automotive enthusiasts. This was an international stage, and no matter what they could do, they could never make a car as famous as the unsheathed undercarriage of one pop icon, Britney Spears. And in fact, when you see her get into this car on video, because the whole thing got caught on video, you see her kind of realize what she may have just done. And of course, those pictures took absolutely no time to make their way around the world. And in fact, every single person that I have mentioned that I bought this car claims to have seen those photos. And those photos, particularly the ones later on in the night, where they had gone to some club, they had come out, and the paparazzi were asking Paris about a relationship that she had with Lindsay Lohan, where apparently, according to a podcast that Paris released just last week, they had had some kind of a feud where Lindsay had said perhaps that Paris had hit her or something like that. And they're talking, and Lindsay Lohan just walks up in an unexpected seeming way and ends up just getting into the car. And so she and Britney Spears are both sitting in the passenger seat of this car. Paris is driving, and you have some of the most iconic 2000s photos you could ever imagine. All those photos have been seen everywhere. In fact, they make sunshades of the three of them sitting in the car that you can buy for a normal car. I ordered one, it's not here yet, but obviously I have to have one to put into this car. And so I am by no means a fan of popular culture. I'm not even a knower of what popular culture is most days, but this is a car that has been, without question, seen by more people than any other McLaren ever built. And I think that's really cool. Is it enough to make me buy a car that I wasn't necessarily planning to? Sure. Would it have made me buy a car that I didn't already want to? Probably not. There's plenty of celebrity cars that have that interesting backstory that, you know, you could say that about. But regardless, I wanted an SLR. I love the spec and the color combination on this one. And I was really, really excited to buy it. So I'm very, very happy that Tyler told me about it. I'm happy that Glossit was able to support us. And I hope that you will visit their website to get your free bottle of their Gloss Enhancer Detail Spray. It is a really, really good product. And honestly, I couldn't have bought this car without them. And so I definitely appreciate that. This car had many, many more interesting nights in its relationship and ownership under Paris Hilton, and I'll talk more about those in some future stories. But I gotta say, after driving it a good bit, I love it. I think it's gonna be a long-term fixture in the stable. I gotta put some tires on it. The tires that were on it were 11 years old, one of them installed inside out. So it's gonna do that. It's about to pass emissions and hopefully get a license plate here in the great state of Georgia, easier than most of my cars have been in their recent acquisition. But you know, it doesn't have a bunch of lights on. It seems to be behaving itself, and I can't wait to put many more miles and maybe even add some more interesting stories. I'm not sure that's realistic. I don't think I'll ever top that, but I will certainly enjoy it and have a lot of fun and put many more interesting miles on this SLR.